So one more very important topic in exception handling is finally block. I already told you. So how to write a finally block? This is a syntax to write. First we have a try statement. First, second we have a catch statement. Then finally statement. Whether if your try statement consists of any exception or not. Okay. Whether exception is there or not. Whatever the statements you are going to write within this finally, that is going to be executed. Okay, that is going to be executed in the last. It means the finary block contains all the crucial statement, that is very important statement in your application, that must be executed whether exception occurs or not. That's always going to present with it. Okay, so two members have doubt. Saad Ahmad, you have any you you have any question? Can you switch on your mic and ask me? Saad Ahmad, switch on your mic and can you can ask me a question. What doubt you have? Okay, Sai Madhav, if you have any doubts, you can switch on in your mic and you can ask me question. Sai Madhav. So I think you mentioned that you are not clear with this topic. That's why I'm asking you, you both, Saad Ahmad and Madhav. Can you can ask me a question? Okay, it's an ask me. You switch on in your mic and you can. Okay, fine. No questions. I think everything is clear. Okay, I'll go to the next thing. Okay. See, already told that there are some crucial statements whether exception occurs or not. That statement needs to be run. Okay, we are going to put those statements within the finally block. It must be associated with the try block. Without try block you don't mention. Finally, without try block you cannot at all use, so that you need to remember. Okay, and finally is option. Okay, you need not to write finally whenever you read try and catch. Okay, so whenever, but the opposite is not true. That is, you have to write finally only if you have a try block. Okay, that's you need to remember. So an exception in the finally. Okay, see, if you have any exception here also, then it can be exactly behaves like normal exception what we have done with respect to try and catch. Okay, you may have some statement that may also ready to cause an exception. Of course, that is nothing but that is similar to those exception what we till now. Okay, so that statement present in the finally block execute even if the try block contains control transfer statements like return, break, or continue. Something like you write here, continue, that still the finally will run. If your it means don't mean that everything is finished itself here. Okay, so whatever the situation, whatever happens in a try, whether it jump or something like that, still finally will run in fine thing. Okay, let us run one example. Okay, what we are doing is I'm going to write some code that consists of some statement. This is finally block. Whether I have an exception or not, this statement should be run. Only this particular statement should be run. Okay, so that is what. So of course I know that I'm going to divide a number by 0. It means that I have an exception. I told that whether I have an exception or not, this statement should be run. Okay, let us see whether it will run or not. Yes, of course, I have an exception. This is an arithmetic exception. Cache can handle that thing. So if that's uh, give an error message, okay, now it is handled. It move to the next line. Now I told that whether I have exception or not, that this statements always runs whatever present in finally. So that's why see, this is a finally block. It's run. Okay, this is a normal statement with present in a main function. There is no relation with any try, catch, or finally block. Fine. Let us, of course, I know how to, okay, finally runs if I have an exception. What happens if I don't have an exception? See, there is no problem, is it right? Number can be easily divided by 1. So I'll run now. See, I told that whether I have an exception or not. Okay, this statement always runs. So that's why we are going to put some crucial information here. If you have an error also, it will print. If you don't have an error also, it will print. Okay, so that's for the finally block means with. Okay, fine. Next, I'll come to the next slide. So next important part is how to throw an exception. Till now, we have not used any throw statements to throw an exception. But in the starting class only, we come across how to handling an exception means we need to going to cause it exception. We have to throw that exception. Then we need to catch that exception. We need to handle that exception. Is it right? But still, we have not at all used throw. Is it right? By defaultly, if you have any statement that is present in a block that is going to cause any exceptions, by defaultly Java will know to throw that exception. Okay, you need not to mention explicitly. Suppose if you want to throw exception, then you have to use this statement, this keyword called throws exceptions. Is what we can define our own set of conditions or rules that are why exception will cause is because we are going to work of writing a statements using Java programming language. That's why we face such type of problems. Okay, every programming language has certain rules and constraints. Okay, so if you are going to violate these rules and constraints, of course, it means that Java doesn't understand your statement. It means that this is the okay error thing. Okay, so avoid those things. We need to know how to handle that situation. Sometimes we have violating the constraints of even then also these type of exception may occur. Okay, so there is sometimes we can set our own conditions or rules. Okay, we want to throw that explicitly, then we are going to use this. This is the syntax of using throw. Throw is nothing but I already told that exception is nothing but it's an instance of exception classes. Okay, instances means it's an object itself. Throw statements always throws an object that is going to cause an exceptions. So that's why whenever you are writing a explicit throwing your exceptions, you just remember that you have to throw your exception in terms of an object. See, new statement, it is very important here. Okay, we are throwing our exceptions using a new, that means we are throwing an object that is in of an exception classes. Okay, this is a simple example. Okay, I'm going to throw a new exceptions. Sorry, I'm throwing to throw an belongs to a class or exception. As we know that it is a divided type of exception. Okay, so in order to throw that exception, I told that you should have to throw as a object. See, that's why I'm throwing arithmetic exceptions, and whatever the error message you are going to put, that will come into output. Okay, that is how we can throw an exception. Let us will have one example, you'll understand correctly. I'm again going to share my okay, I'll paste my code here. Okay, this is a simple example. Okay, where I'm going to throw my exception here itself. See, so you need not to have a try and catch back when you are trying to know statement is going to cause an exception. Okay, you can directly throw that instances using throw. Okay, fine. See, I'll come to here. See, I know that if any values less than 12 and less than 40, okay, less than 12 or less than 40, that means it is an error. He is not eligible for registration. Otherwise, student is entry is valid. Okay, if I want to put some error messages like that, come to my program. So what values I'm passing to this method? Check eligibility 10, 39. It means my ST usage student age is 10, weight is 39. Statement. Of course, it is less than 12. Of course, here only it is fails. We know that shortcut things. Okay. So if one thing is fail, of course, we know that if you have and, okay, then other thing is also fail. The total entire statement is false. Okay. Here only it is fail. Is entire thing is false of this. Okay. Okay, that's thing. Okay, that's why it is going to throw an error message. Okay, which is an exception type, which is an exception type of arithmetic exceptions. Okay, what is it means is student is not eligible for registration. We'll see. Welcome to the registration. There is no problem at all. There is no problem at all. Okay. So now it means that I'll come to this. It means that the only valid values available for this method is greater than 12 and less than 40. But whatever the values I'm, that is 10 and 39, which is not at all values here. It means that it is going to throw an exception. It's, and I don't have any valid things to uh, run my application. That's why automatically it is going to throw an exception. See, that's why I have a exception which belongs to a method called check eligibility, where it initiated through a main function. Okay, so my exception error is student is not at all eligible. You got it? So why as an exception? Because just throwing an exception, we are not handled. Handled means we need to write a cast statement. Okay, if you want to write a cast statement means you have to throw this exception in a cast block. That is what. See, if you put this in a try statement, okay, like this, and if you write the cast statement, okay, you are going to handle. Don't use capital. Okay, catch. What thing we have to write is belongs to something called arithmetic exceptions. Okay, okay. Automatic. I'm going to create one instance here. Where I have thrown that instance name is E. Okay, that instance name is E. Okay, where I'm going to close this. Okay, there I'm going to something in my block here. Okay, what is that? Is just I'll print some information, that some wrong information, something like wrong values. Okay. So now I'm going to run this. We'll see what happens. See, even if I have an exception, it is not at all possible to handle that. That's why I have an error message. Only first statement has run properly. Is it right? But now I know how to handle that by using a cast statement. See, this is how you, whenever you have an exception, you have to throw in a try block. Okay. If you know that the statement is going to cause an error, exception, you directly throw that. You need not to mention the messages here. Directly messages will come. Okay. If you don't have that messages also, there are a lot of methods are there to print the exact messages here. We'll see in the next examples. Okay, how to handle that. So that's why even the lost value is also printed well. So the exception values is wrong value. So that's why, because we have an exception in this. So the last, even though we have exception, we run our program smoothly and we printed our last statement. Have a nice day. Okay, let us pass some values which we don't have an exception at all. So this is an valid statement. This is also an valid statement. Okay, let us run this thing. See, yeah, I don't have exception. My exam will run smoothly. So since it is a valid statement, my output is going to print as student entry is valid. Have a nice day. Thank you. Uh, okay. Any doubt in this? Am I clear with through? Very good. Nice. Okay. Fine. I'll go to the next slide then.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yeah, yeah, Altaf.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Why we write generic exception in the bottom? Why can't write in the up?
yeah, that's what. If you write it in a starting itself, okay,
Hmm.
starting itself, every exception, think it as a generic exception. Even though you know
Okay.
those exception belongs to either arithmetic exception class or null pointer exception class or array out of bound of class exceptions, still it will think it as a generic one only. Is it right?
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
situation that this exception belongs to this class itself. First you put it in a first catch blocks. Okay, in the last
Okay.
statement, if you don't know exception at all, this one, if you don't know at all, then you put some generic exceptions in the last.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
And one more doubt I have, sir. Sir,
yeah,
after closing bracket of try, can we write a print statement or something?
no, the thing what you have to mention is whenever you have written a try block, that should be
Hmm.
followed by a catch block.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay,
try
sir.
means something problem is there. Okay, you know how to
Okay.
handle that problem. Catch is mandatory.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you, man.